We're live?
We're live.
Hello!
Hey everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Kiepersol Texas Podcast.
Episode 3, here we are.
I'm here with Marnelle once again. It's so good to be here again, and it's just fun, and we have a lot of cool things coming down the road, just between the winery, the vineyard, and the business itself, as well as podcasts. So
That's
it's
right.
Pretty exciting. But
It's Christmas time.
yeah, it is. It's Christmas time right now.
Time for warm drinks.
We just had an amazing Black Friday. It's probably the most successful Black Friday we've ever had.
We've had a good, and the beauty of it was not just that it was Black Friday, but that we actually lit up the vineyard on Black Friday.
Right.
So
yeah, and that was awesome, and yeah, everybody showed up, and we really appreciate that. And we also still have a great sale going on. If you're interested, just go to our Facebook page or go to our website. You can find out more information about that. But it's a tasting room only, and we have select few sets of wine that you can get a discount for $59, which is a killer deal. So
awesome.
But yeah, so we're on episode 3, and obviously I'm still new, still learning a lot of things about the culture of Texas as well as Kiepersol, and it's hard to work here without hearing about your dad, Pierre, and I knew that number 3 was something significant for Pierre and for you guys as a family. You know, can you tell us a little bit what's so special about the number 3?
Well, I think the number one significance about the number 3 to us would certainly be the Trinity. Father,
Okay.
Son, the Holy Spirit. 3 is a number that stuck with us and our family, and my dad wrote, when he wrote his book, he said, the story of we and the power of 3. And after my mom passed, it was 3 of us. And interestingly enough, my birthday is January 3rd. My sister's birthday is March 3rd.
Wow.
And 3 was significant, and it's all superstition, or just something to cling on to, in symbolism of faith. But it really boils down to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Jeremiah 33:3, they call Jesus' phone number, God's phone number. So there are lots of verses in the Bible that are beautiful, that have 3s in them, and so if you want to call it just a mark of our faith, or I think that's what it boils down to.
Okay.
And 3 always shows up when we're doing something good. You know, you look at the watch and you're doing something good. It's 3:33, or you see that, and it's just kind of a family favorite number for sure.
All right, awesome. So I want to learn a little bit more about Pierre. I mean, obviously we have a book a little bit about his history, and a lot of you, I'm sure, have read it. I've heard a lot of you telling me stories that I didn't even know while I'm up at the tasting room or anything like that. We definitely appreciate that. But let's go a little bit into history of Pierre. I know it's coming on almost 3 years.
Here we are, another 3.
From his passing.
Yes, and this is that one that I'm like holding my breath, like, oh, it's hard to talk about. It's easy to talk about how my dad influenced us. It's easy to talk about my dad's faith and belief and passion that he had for life and love and everything that he did and that he helped build. It's easy to talk about the result of my dad's being here. It's very hard to specifically talk about my dad, and
Okay.
it's only hard because it hurts. I mean, and that's
fair.
It's just one of those things, and I know that people want to hear, and I know you're here and you want to hear about him, and you want to hear stories about him, and why we do some of the things we do. Why, like for instance, we don't have a number 6 tank. So another one of the superstitions. People go on the tours and they're like, well, where's tank number 6? And as much as my dad loved the number 3, he hated the number 6.
Okay.
So it's like, just skip over it. We just go from 5 to 7. That doesn't exist. So I can tell you a million stories about him, and you would learn about his character, and a lot about who he was. But just talking about it, there's this watermelon that grows. So, and in the Bible, and he did this so well, it says to honor your mother and father. And I know that there's a point in which you stop hurting and you start feeling proud to honor your loved one that has passed. And we're getting there. I mean, we're talking about him on episode 3. This is the best I can do, you guys. And we've done vintners dinners where we've actually had guests of the dinner stand up and toast him, and I have to just step out for a second because I miss him. And
it's still raw.
And it is raw. And it's 3 years. We're going on 3 years of Daddy not physically being here, but I know he's here in spirit. And when you guys come and you see who we are and what we do and how we love and how we do things here, you can see that we had a really good founder. And I like that word founder because it's like the founder lays the foundation. And he laid a gorgeous foundation for my sister and myself and this amazing team and amazing staff to really grow on. When we immigrated to the U.S. from South Africa in 1984, and we left South Africa, my dad claimed that he's running away from a broken heart because my mom passed away there. And he said, well, when he got here, he realized that he brought the damn thing with him. So our upbringing was seeing a man raise his daughters and act in both roles as he's raising us. And he helped us know who our mom was and tell stories and showed us how to honor her. And it certainly is time for us to honor him and get over ourselves and get moving. So ask me what you want to ask, and let me see if I can pull out some good stories for you.
Okay, so you said he's from South Africa. Where specifically? Is there a town or a region that he was from?
So we immigrated from a town called Kiepersol. I dare you guys to say that. It's spelled Groblersdal, Groblersdal, South Africa. And he was a farmer there, and you can read about his history. He wrote this. He started writing this just after I had my twins. And the cool thing about my dad was he said, "Girls, I wrote our story and of immigrating to the U.S. and my upbringing. And when you live it, we didn't know we were poor. We didn't know why we were eating peanut butter or canned soup every day. It didn't resonate. You're young. We were protected and we were warm and we were loved and we were recipients of Toys for Tots. Didn't know how poor we were."
Okay.
In 1985, we immigrated in 1984, and there are angels along the way that helped, that helped guide us. But coming to the U.S. was like what Reagan called in the 80s was coming to the city on the hill. And if you're going to leave your country, there's only one country to come to. And if you're going to come to the U.S., Texas is the place, right?
Right, yeah.
So Texas is the place to come. And in the 70s and early 80s in South Africa, just like here, Dallas was on. And my grandfather, Dirk, my dad's dad, had traveled here and visited here. And we came, and my dad was the most patriotic man I've ever met. The minute we saw the Statue of Liberty, he woke us up, we were on the airplane, and I remember so vividly, I was 5 years old, and he said, "That's the Statue of Liberty, and that's how you know you're in the U.S., and the symbol of freedom." And we came, we traveled to Texas, and then he got a job in California, and then we came back to Texas, and the story is here, the journey is in here. But when we landed, it was no more of our native language. You are now in the U.S. and we're going to speak English. So I learned English from Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and cartoons in the morning, and we assimilated and didn't look back. I'm as American as apple pie and proud to say it and proud to be an American, and so thankful for the amazing opportunities that are here in the U.S. and the journey of my dad coming here, and the blessings of being able to be a part of this country is amazing. And those are the things I think about when I think about my dad is the sacrifices and the pushing and the hard work that he put into everything that he did. So that kind of went around a lot, but it gives you a little bit of history, and to know that we certainly are immigrants to this country, and are very proud to be part of this country. So
yeah, that's amazing.
That's a little bit of our beginning. Yeah.
So obviously Pierre did more than just Kiepersol. It wasn't he didn't come and just start Kiepersol.
No.
That was kind of a thing that you guys did together.
Yes.
But that was later on. So what did he do between the time you guys immigrated to the time you established Kiepersol in 1998 or did a test plot?
He was in agribusiness, in agriculture in South Africa. My grandfather started or worked in South Africa with this co-op called Outspan. And what they did was they exported South African produce to other countries. And interestingly enough, about 10 years ago, I was in Berkshires and Bullard, and I was buying clementines, and I saw this green box that said Outspan. I was like, this is the company my grandfather helped start. It's incredible. So in South Africa, he was a farmer, and anything from grapes to tobacco and corn and beef cattle, dairy cattle, 100% agribusiness. He did farming, and we immigrated to this country with the hope that we can sell. The company back then was called Exact, and irrigation tanks. So, and knew some people in the farming industry. So when he came here on a visitor's visa, and ended up working basically illegally until 1985. So he came in 84, and he worked in the rice fields as a migrant worker, and in California, and then got an opportunity to come here to Texas, building a fence. And in the midst of all this, was able to become legal and worked on citizenship, got his visa, and he started a company called Agdiprof, and actually had caught the eye of a rose grower, ended up working at a rose nursery, and from there ended up doing a little consulting. And by 1994, his company Agdiprof was up and running, and he was doing agricultural management and farming for institutional investors.
Okay.
So big time farming, and we grew up where we'd be farming almonds in California. He grew almonds there, and citrus in Florida, and our family vacations were his business trips. So Sis and I got to grow up running through the orchards and the citrus groves, and an amazing, very earthy upbringing where our fun for us was hopping on a mule or a gator or a four-wheeler, and it doesn't get any better than that, riding through an orchard or a citrus grove. So that's what he did, and he farmed for years. He also farmed grapes on the West Coast and up in Washington State. So naturally, being daddy's girls, we graduated high school, and I remember proudly saying, I want to be a farmer. And I remember him going, oh my gosh, I don't want her to be a farmer. How will that turn out? And but he said, and we bought this land in 94, and by 98 we had our first acres of grapes planted, or first 1 acre. 99 we had 14 acres, but that's kind of it's all in the book. But that kind of sums it up a little bit. So his company Agdiprof, which sadly doesn't exist now since Daddy's passing, and he stopped doing. He actually retired in 2011 or 12. I can't remember exactly. And just put his focus on Kiepersol and growing Kiepersol. So fills in some of the blanks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and that sort of makes sense. Then at that point, it was 2012. That's when we had the election here in Smith County, and we became a damp.
There you go.
Or wet, as they call it, county. And so, since we're talking about the wet county, I mean, we can kind of honor Pierre, but also Dirk, right?
That's right.
We've got the vodka here, and tell us a little bit about this brainchild.
So, and a lot of this we say on our tours, but in 2012 there was a wet-dry election, and or the election, and wet-dry was on the ballot. And I remember people calling my dad, and my dad saying to us, he goes, people are calling, how do you want us to vote in precinct 2? What does Kiepersol want? Do you guys want for Tyler to stay dry? Do you want to go wet? And all these questions and things like this that would come up were huge life lessons for us. And I remember my dad saying to my sis and I, and he said this often, he goes, call your husbands, we need to have a meeting. So we did call our husbands, and we showed up, and he'd been pondering on this for a couple of days or a week or so. And so we show up at the house, and he says 3 words: free market enterprise. He says, we need to think about something. Now, we have a winery in the heart of Tyler, Texas. And the beauty was having KE Cellars in Tyler was awesome, because people took to the wine. We were selling our wine. We were selling other Texas wine. And it was the only place that you can get a closed container bottle of alcohol since pre-prohibition. It was, we made history. And no one else opened a winery in Tyler all that time. And there's still not one in the heart of Tyler. And so we opened the winery, and everybody bought the wine. Well, now it's 6 years later, and we're up. This election is up. So they're going to say, if it goes wet, Walmart, CVS, grocery store, CVS, Walgreens, Brookshire grocery store, Kid Jones gas station, you name it, everybody is going to be able to carry wine. And why would they go to the little winery in the French Quarter Shopping Center and buy wine when, while you're pushing your buggy, you can just pick it up? So he thought about it, and he said, girls, we need to be able to compete. And in this world, it's not just good enough to sell your product because you're in a dry county. You need to be able to compete on the global market. And when you're talking about competing on the global market, it means we're going to compete in terms of price and quality. So don't just compete with Texas or the U.S. We're going to compete with all wine that's made. So he said it's time to draw a line in the sand. And if the wine goes in a Kiepersol bottle, it can compete on the global market in terms of quality and price. If it cannot compete, and when we say cannot compete, there are certain wines in the marketplace, for instance, White Zinfandel and some Tempraníos, that White Zin, for instance, if you buy it, there are a few brands out there in the marketplace, and you're going to pay, $9 a bottle or $6 a bottle, maybe $12 for a 1.5 liter. The best price we can get our White Zin on the market for was 750 ml for $11, and that's not a competitive price. So, and that's not a type of wine that people typically buy on quality. Some people have some of their favorites, and they would, but if you've got a Sutter Home or a Behringer or a Barefoot Cellars, and you could pick that up for $4.99, why would you pick ours up for $11? Yeah. So we said, well, what are we going to do if we can't compete? And he pulled out some other random bottle, and he said, we're going to turn it into vodka. And we're like, really? We're going to turn it into vodka? I thought vodka had to be made out of potatoes. And he gave this research that he did and introduced us to Ciroc. There is not a Russian bone in my body. We did not grow up drinking vodka. But we did do the research. My dad, my cousin Franz, my husband, and a lot of the staff members here got together, and started playing with some stills and ended up getting permitted. And by April of 2014, we had our first batch of grapes that we were not going to make wine from, and had the vodka made. And I remember when it was coming out of the still, my dad looked at it and he's like, it's so clear and so brilliant. And, you know, all spirits, when they're distilled, whether it's an aged rum or an aged scotch or whiskey, it all comes out clear. And he said, it's so brilliant, so clear, it reminds me of my dad, of his dad, Dirk. And so he said, let's name it Dirk's. So we did. And what an amazing way to honor your father. And my grandfather loved everything Texas, from the little pecan pies that you buy at the gas station. You need to get one of those. They're amazing. Everything Texas. And he had the Texas spirit, but he never lived here. And when my dad built his house, he actually built him a room 2 weeks prior to my grandfather retiring in Texas. He passed away. And he never got to see Kiepersol in all its glory. But he did have a Texas spirit. So I tell this story a lot, and it's a lot of fun. If you take the United States and you think about, you've got the whole U.S. Now, from someone from another country, look at the U.S., there's a joke that says, you know, United States is New York, California, and Texas, because they can't remember all the other states in between. So if you look at the country and you think about the passion that comes from the Northeast, you know, and the passion might be like, forget about it, you know, it's real passionate up there. And then you think about the freedom in California, you know, like, don't worry about it, dude. And the wide open spaces in the Midwest, and the ladies and gentlemen that come out of the deep South. So if you take all these gorgeous characteristics of the U.S. and you just bundle them all together, you get this gorgeous mixture of the Texas spirit. So we have passion, but we let it out with the kindness of the deep South. We understand wide open spaces, and we certainly believe in freedom. So I feel like all those characteristics embody the quote-unquote, no pun intended, but intended, Texas spirit. And so the tagline for this vodka is Dirk's Live Like a Texan. So that's kind of the story of Dirk's, and a little bit of my grandfather, and how and why we started a distillery in the heart of a wine estate.
Awesome. Yeah, and so, yeah, it is. And you know, in a way, we're talking in 3 generations, another 3, and, you know, we're highlighting it. Yeah, so, and it's just interesting that, you guys have kind of built this nice little destination spot from humble beginnings, and it's definitely a testament to your father, and obviously what Dirk instilled to him before that.
Yes. And I can proudly say, and I think in this politically correct world we live in, I'm almost scared to see what comments are going to pop up. I don't know. I'm scared, you guys. But I lean into the discomfort and take whatever. But the number one thing for us, and my grandfather instilled that, my grandparents on my mother's side, my dad certainly, we could not live a day without God in our life. Our faith is so important, and it's important to surround yourself with people that matters to too. And then when people come, whether it's customers, whether it's new staff members, the internal message that we send to our staff and what we believe in is love, grow, do. So that we have quarterly meetings, and that was how my dad raised us. Love your neighbor, love God. If my kids got hurt, he would get some medicine, Neosporin or whatever, and he'd call it love. He goes, oh, just put a little love on it. Anything that was wrong. And so many of the staff members can remember, and Daddy would always say, oh, they just need a little love. Just give them some love. And you can take that word so lightly, but on the other side of it, it's so true. Love is the thing that heals all. And when you love, you can't be mad, you can't be jealous, you can't be all those ugly things. You just exude the fruit of the Spirit whenever you act in love. And it sounds so simple, and a bit of a cliche, but it's the truth.
Right.
And then love grow. So grow is continual growth and change. You know, the one thing that's for certain in life is that we're going to change. Your beard's going to get longer.
Of course it is.
Hopefully I won't get fatter, but you know, maybe skinnier, I don't know. But growth is so important, and it is aligned with change. And you grow your mind and your spirit and your soul, your body, and you grow to a position where you can love more, where you can do more for others. And then do is so important. Do was growing up, I was told to run with the scissors. It's like, do it quickly, and you have a sense of urgency and get things done, and if you do something, you make a difference. And it might be a little something, move a grain of sand, or move a mountain, but either way, you go to bed knowing you did something.
Right.
And if you do it out of love, all the better. So that, I think, sums up how he brought us up, and I think it would make him smile to know that we are loving and growing and doing. So there.
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to maybe take the time just to really highlight Pierre and kind of get to know him more, and hopefully some of you got to feel and experience a little bit of who Pierre was as well. But if you guys are interested, we have the book here, Story of We. We have it online. You can purchase it online, or you can purchase it here at the wine tasting room, or even at our restaurant.
Yes, and then I'll do another shameless plug. So my dad wrote a blog with Kelly Doherty, was actually his fiance, and she also is our brand manager. And they wrote these blogs together, and on her journey of healing, right after Daddy's passing, she took all the blog entries that they did, and she put them in order, and she attached a Bible verse and to each one, and put it together in a book, and we called it Field Hand. So she did amazingly well putting this together. So these are a lot of his blog posts. So if you want to get to know some of his train of thought and what he stood for, you can definitely pick this book up too that Kelly put together. So yeah, it's not too bad. The knot's not too bad, but it's there. Yeah. I'll make you a deal.
Okay.
Episode 33. We'll get pictures, and by episode 33, I might even can get my sister and Kelly on this, and lots of loved ones. Another blessing that my dad left us with is the blessing of beautiful friends. He didn't make enemies, and he had friends, and those friends have been angels to us, and have been they've imparted so much wisdom and really helped my sister and I and the entire company over the last 3 years, being able to talk to them and visit with them and talk about business and talk about parenting and you name it, just the messiness of life. The beauty is that he also had so many friends. So if I can even get some of his friends on here, we'll get all kinds of good stuff on Daddy for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I was actually just talking to one of his good friends, Tony Johnson, from Brookshire's a while back, and I think we're going to probably get him on pretty soon, so that's going to be exciting.
That would be good. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'd be more than happy to be there as well.
I'll be there.
Awesome. Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you guys for tuning in today.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is episode 3, and please, if you guys have any questions, please let us know. We'll bring it up in the next podcast, or we'd be happy to help you out. We're actually sitting. Let's talk about the room we're sitting in.
Yes.
What
this is
are
the
we
Roan
in?
Room.
Roan Room.
This is the Roan Room, and it's a small family room in the restaurant. Actually, looking at beautiful forest with all the leaves falling in front of us right now. But it's a small family room. We actually have it filled with some family photos. So lots of fun memories behind us. So if you guys come and you have a party that's, I guess, 12 or less, you definitely can come hang out in here and have a nice private conversation. We can shut the doors and you guys can laugh and get loud. Bring cake and cut it. All kinds of fun events have happened in this room. So it's a good space. And tonight is Vintner's Dinner.
Yeah, so tonight is Vintner's Dinner. We're going to be doing that. And that's going to be exciting. But yeah, if you guys ever get a chance, go do a Vintner's Dinner. I know we're also talking to some other local restaurants. We're going to team up with them and highlight some of our wines and then do Vintner's Dinners there.
Yes.
So that's going to be exciting, and we'll definitely keep you posted. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, our podcast now. That if you're listening, hopefully is on Apple Podcasts now, as well as it's on Spotify and all the major podcast listening streaming services, as well as we have it up on YouTube and on Facebook.
Man, Mike is doing his job. Wow. He is ahead of our social media, and it's kind of fun to get us out there. I don't know how you do it. You wave a wand. I assume. I have no idea how he's getting us everywhere, but that's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys come see us. And remember, Tyler Local Eats. Check out Tyler Local Eats. There are phenomenal restaurants all over the city of Tyler that you guys need to check out. And support local, especially during this holiday season, you guys. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day, and maybe I'll get to see some of you tonight. God bless you guys.